I'm really excited because we're going to be hanging out with Freddie and Khalid today. They are coaching clients of mine for about a year now, and they're you're in South Carolina or North Carolina?
North Carolina.
Okay, yeah, and they've been just crushing it. What I would say is they're a perfect example of someone who's going to be very successful in the manufactured home space and mobile home park space. And I told my wife that very early on when they joined the group. I was like, that couple's going to do it. They're going to buy parks. I can see it because obviously some people get started and they're just not committed. They don't put in the work, whatever. I mean, that's in any business. But these two really took it seriously, followed directions to a T, and they're getting great results. So I just want to get them on and talk about what's working for them, what they've learned. They just closed. How many sites is that?
106.
106 site community in North Carolina or South? North. And super exciting. They did it with a partner, and they got multiple deals under contract right now. So they've just got some really good traction. So guys, thanks for doing this with me. I'm really proud of you, number one. And I've had a lot of fun working with you. Can you guys just give us an idea of what made you get into the mobile home park space?
Yeah, so we originally, thank you, Mario, for bringing us on.
Absolutely.
Here. I mean, this is it's like an accomplishment for us. We've always, wanted to be like the big boys own mobile home parks. We are loaning dealers. We started out as helping mobile home park owners. We would buy mobile homes from mobile home park owners, make them rent ready, and then bring people into the mobile homes to live in them after the park must have approved the tenants. Mm-hmm. And we still own mobile homes in mobile home parks, and we've been doing that since 2021, and then it got to 2023 or 2024. I think 2023, I reached out to you. Mm-hmm. But before then, I was discussing with Freddie. I was like, "Hey, babe, I want us to move to the next level, because now we've done a lot of deals. We've done wholesaling mobile homes. We've done all sorts. Done rent to own, done fixing and flipping, done rentals and stuff like that." And I told her, I said, "Hey, let's move to the next level. I think we need to grow, and we love what we do, but we want to move to the next level of our career, which is owning mobile home parks." And we talked about it, and I was watching around, asking questions, and about who to go meet to help us gain more knowledge about mobile home parks. And your name kept popping up, like, reach out to Mario, reach out to Mario, reach out to Mario. So I was like, okay, let's do it.
Reach out to Mario.
So we reached out to Mario, and then the entry fee was a bit too high. I was like, man, this is something this is something that I've never paid in my life, but I know sometimes you have to invest in yourself, and you have to put in a lot of resources in doing that. So thought about it, and I discussed it with Freddie, and we were like, okay, let's do it. So we paid for the course, brought Freddie in. Freddie is someone that is hardly, you can hardly impress her. No. Like, she's someone that can, you have to do a lot to impress her.
High expectations, huh?
Her expectations are high. And one day she made me know, like, hey, this is value for money. What we paid for is value for money. And ever since then, she's just been the one at the back of the office doing all the work when it comes to mobile home parks. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I call her my secretary, though.
Yeah, but we both know she's the boss, right? Yeah. So I would say, when you guys came in, one thing that really stood out to me was that you that you guys like took immediate action. You know, you weren't slow to get through the modules. You weren't, you know, like when we did our kickoff call and stuff like that, you guys were serious. You knew what you wanted. You had real goals and you were just willing to learn. You know, you didn't come in. A lot of people, you know, when they learn things, they sometimes bring their experience from other things in as a reason why they don't have to go through the same process that everybody else does. You guys were flipping tons of mobile homes. You were renting a bunch of them. You guys, I mean, like you said, you had a great career with manufactured homes. And so it would have been easy for you to come in and say, oh, we already understand a lot of this. Just teach us these things. And this is all we need to know. But you didn't do that. You just said, hey, we're a blank slate. What do I need to know? And you did it. And then you were on every single, I mean, like, I don't remember the last time you weren't on a weekly coaching call. Like, I just don't, if you're not there, it's really weird for me. And it's been, you know, in over a year, I don't know how many times you guys have even missed one, but it just goes to show that your drive and your consistency has paid off. And that's why you're closing deals and you've got more deals under contract. You've got a pipeline going, you've got marketing going, you're doing all the things that you need to do to just keep scaling your portfolio. So I also want to note one other thing that stood out to me. You utilized your background, which happens to be manufactured homes, as an asset into your mobile home park investing business. Some people have a finance background. Some people have a brokerage background. Some people have house flipping background, whatever. And they can use that background as leverage in the mobile home park business. And that's what you guys did with your home business background. So what I'd like to do is just kind of find out what are maybe 3 things that you've picked up in the last year that have really helped you go from knowing nothing about the park business to now closing your first park deal and having multiple more in the pipeline?
I think one thing that we've taken from, like you said, is just the consistency, right? And so, you know, I remember way back when we didn't even have a CRM and we were like, you know, how are we keeping up with these people in the first place? Like just trying to remember it, jot it down in our notebook. Like Khalid's got all these little pieces of paper still on his, you know, he'll speak with somebody and write it down everywhere. And, you know, we just, I think consistency, man, is just that's the only way that we have gotten, you know, where we are in terms of that. And I don't think we're anywhere, you know, close to where we want to be, obviously. But I think just that consistency of, you know, being able to source deals like you know, like we talk about every week, right? Like everybody's always asking, how are you getting these leads? And, you know, everybody's asking everybody, well, what's the best way to call them? And, you know, I think one thing with Khalid is that he's a go-getter and, you know, nothing stops this man. Right. And so, just that even in the middle of the night, you know, he'll message me and be like we're sleeping and he'll wake up and have a new idea, you know, to source leads. And I'll wake
you across the bed.
Yes. And I'll wake up to it the next morning and he'll be like, I think we need to la da da da. And I'm just like, okay, I got you. Right. And just that consistency, you know, of not, you know, just keeping at it. You know, you talk about it all the time and drill it into our brains. Like you can't call people one time, right? Like you can't, there's no way, right? You know, you can't call them one time. You can't mail them one time and expect to get results back, you know? So I think consistency is absolutely, you know, necessary for one.
What's another thing that has stood out to you guys that maybe was kind of a learn or something that you've realized that's gotten you the traction?
I would say, I mean, you've talked about it in our trainings when you would tell us to do massive marketing, and that's what we're at. And we're using every avenue to reach out at these sellers and let them know what we are doing and what we want to, you know, accomplish. and then follow-ups. We also do follow-ups and network with these park owners. Sometimes we will tell them, we would even help them do infills in their park. Like if you have a vacant lot or vacant lots in your park, we can partner with you, bring homes into your park. And now they're seeing us as people that know what we're doing, because we're even suggesting ways by which they can increase their revenue in their park. So all these things are what we've been able to do to bring to the table of value to park owners and let them know what we do. So I think
Yeah.
those are some of the things that has helped us.
I think a good way to summarize that too is it's high volume plus consistency equals profits, right?
Absolutely.
If you do high volume but you're not consistent, you're going to be riding through that pipeline I talk about, right? Where you're pushing fluid through it. You're never going to have the pressure and the consistency to get the traction. Same thing. You can be consistent, but if you're not doing volume and you're only calling 5 people a week or marketing to 10 people a week, it's not enough to get the result. You've got to do high volume plus consistency gets you the end result, right? So
Absolutely.
I think that's kind of what you guys are saying is you put those two together.
Oh yeah. We we're very consistent. We've hired cold callers ourselves before. And even when we're paying someone else to cold call, he's sitting right here cold calling. We try to get in at least 100 calls a day. Which sounds like a lot, but it is what it is. Like, you can't, if you're not calling, you don't get anybody. Right. And so, we've got our dialer that we do, but we try to, he doesn't clock out for this job of his, his one aspect of sourcing leads until he gets like 100 calls in a day. And he kind of does that. And then once we know that's the owner, and even if they say, never call me again, please. Sometimes we'll still put them in the CRM and then I do all the follow-up, and so he'll be in here cold calling. I'll go to the bedroom and do what I call my warm calls, because we know that's the owner, when we're just doing it at the same time in different rooms. Like,
I love the team aspect too.
Yes.
You guys work so great together and you both push each other, which is awesome. It's really a family business for you guys.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the deal that you bought just recently with a partner. Just the size, general, region. You don't have to give the address or anything, but what's kind of the game plan on that business, on that property? Like, what's the business plan on it to turn it around in a couple of minutes?
Sure. So it is in the eastern part of the state, in North Carolina. And we have worked with this mobile home park owner before, owns a lot in North Carolina, surrounding states. He's one that we did the really big infill project for in 2023. So we brought in around about 50 homes for him in about 8 months, making those connections with people. And that was one of, the people he was talking about that, we connected with to help them fill up their park, And so when he saw this deal, he, reached out and was like, hey, do you think you could do this? And we're like, mm-hmm. And he's like, well, because we had talked back and forth a lot, over the past year, 2, he knows our goals, so he was like, look, like, let me bring you on as a partner with equity. And you just kind of do the same exact model we were doing before. And we were like, well, okay. Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
And he's been a huge, part in this and piece in this, one that he trusts us enough to do this. Right.
Yeah.
He's seen our work and he trusts that. So this is 106 pad park with 43 occupied lots. So so we are working on 106 pads. So we are working, I think there might be 2 or 3 that aren't developed. So we're working on filling that up. So we have in the past 4 weeks, moved in 6 homes already. And so, we're hoping, our goal is by the end of the year to have that park full and operating at full capacity.
Is there any rent increase plan or any sort of bill back on the utilities in the business plan at all?
So his are these are septic. Man, I wish I could tell you about the water, but definitely rental increases. And so the way that our partnership plan is that once we hit specific thresholds, our equity increases.
Nice.
So when we closed, we were at 5% equity, which seems little. And sometimes we're like, oh, it's 5%, right? But man, it's I feel very blessed to be a partner in it, and being able to just help bring affordable housing to people, because that's what we do, and be in ownership and do what we love, and
your ownership goes up as you complete your part of the business plan.
Yes. Yep.
So it doesn't end at 5. You're just entering in at 5,
correct.
and then as you do your part, you get more and more equity in the deal.
So he was very detailed in writing up like what those thresholds were, and once you fill up, we did some negotiations in our contract, because why not, right? Talk to you about it, did some work with that, and got it to where I think it was a pretty fair deal. Like I said, we're very blessed to be partners in it. But
it wouldn't have been possible if we had not been able to be under your being your student, because the first one we helped him do the infill. We made some pretty good money from it, but at the same time we wanted ownership. So we were like, going forward, we see what we can do. This great guy sees what we can do, and because we've been letting him know, like, hey, we want to own parks. So it came to us with the mindset of, I think I can help these guys achieve something, and that I would also get something from them. So it's like a win-win for the both of us. So, and then since he knew we were looking for mobile home parks to buy, he pushed it to us and said, hey, would you be interested in partnering with me on this park? So and that was what we did. He knows we can do infill, we can bring in homes like very fast, and so we were like, sure, of course. And even before we closed on the park, we started sourcing homes to move to the park, and he has seen what we can do. So immediately the park closed, we moved 6 homes into the park. And it was, he knows this is what we're used to doing, and we still have more to bring into the park. So our goal is, by the end of the year, every month we would move in at least 6 homes into the park. Dang. So that's like 60 homes for the rest of the year into the park.
Yep,
that's huge.
That's our goal. So we set goals, and nothing stops this man from his goals. And so
and you guys are a great team, and you both play your roles. And Khalid's got the foot on the gas 24/7 to get to there fast.
I promise you, when it comes to analysis, Freddie has I'm not good at analysis. I just hear it and then I go. She's the one that tells me, hey, let's do this, let's put this into consideration. And she's really helped the business, helped me, and I wouldn't have prayed for a better partner in terms of
your underwriting models that you guys send over for review they're tight.
She's the one.
She knows what she's doing, because when I look at those, there's not a lot of revisions needed, and it's just rarely anything serious. I mean, you guys she's got a really good understanding of what those numbers should look like and how real life converts into a spreadsheet, right? Because that's the challenge. You're trying to take real business situations in a business plan and roll it out in an Excel spreadsheet to get the financial results of those activities that you're doing on the ground as an operator. And so you've really got those numbers honed in on, and I love that. when you understand how actions affect numbers, you can much more effectively project forward what to expect, right?
Yeah, and I'll say I'll give you a very shameless plug, right? And so I know we've talked about like these weekly coaching calls, and that's not all that you do. Like you even record these nice coaching calls for us and put them in our modules so that we can go back and review them. Even this week, if we're stuck on something, right? Like, so it's a blessing, but it also makes me want to like cry sometimes because I'm overwhelmed, right? But we've got like multiple deals on the table right now that people are like, send me, like I have a contract out right now that all they're waiting on is my signature. I have another one. We've come to a price. We've all agreed on it. We're just waiting on their signature, but we were sitting here like, okay, if we could only do one of these, right? Which one are we going to do? It's the two I sent you. I was like, which one are we going to do? And then I'm like, wait, let me go back, because our eyes get so stuck on cash sometimes. And I'm like, nope, back to the modules, right? And so like, all I have to do is go to your module and pull it up and review whatever we need to review. So anybody that is looking, for a very genuine, authentic program, Mario's is top notch.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. I did not pay them to say that.
No, you didn't. No, in fact, we paid. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you paid.
No, I'll tell you though, it is, if when Khalid first came into your program, we were babies in this, and not that we still don't feel like babies most times, but like he said, he was like, man, this is a lot of money, and I'm like, yeah. And then but let me tell you, if I could go back and get as invested as I am now, because I'm much more invested now than I was when he started, because I had a full-time job, and my full-time job was all consuming, and not that I don't still love it. But I was able to leave last August, and I came to the business full-time. And, if we could go back, if it was triple the price, we would pay it, because it is so worth it to help us reach our goals. And, it's not just the modules that we can go back to that help us out. It's the weekly coaching calls. We have our mastermind class that we can attend. I mean, the value that you bring to us is it's priceless.
We've also pulled out of deals that would have crushed us.
Yes.
So that also,
you guys caught a couple of really bad things in due diligence that a lot of people would have bought with and would not have caught a couple of those very technical things that you guys really are in. You guys did a really good job on your due diligence.
Yes, sir.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Like, give an example of one big find. You don't have to mention the property, but one big find that either caused you to recognize to avoid that deal, which sometimes avoiding a bad deal is much better than closing even a good deal, right? But or a deal that you realize that there was major problems with, and were able to use that to renegotiate the deal to make sure that you were getting it at the right price. Give me an example of one thing you caught in due diligence. Maybe a technical one that a lot of people would go, I wouldn't have looked for that.
I think the one that sticks out the biggest to me, there's two, and it's kind of on the opposite ends of the spectrum, but the one that sticks out to me the most is one that we were under contract for last year. We were into our due diligence, and the more that we followed your due diligence template, that we got into it, and we realized that the state was planning to take this park through right-of-way acquisition. And so we spoke all the way up to the acquisitions person, and he was like, look, we're taking this basically, and we're going to give you what we give you for it. And nobody could tell me how they would appraise it and what we would get for it. And whatnot, the broker was just like, "Oh, I thought I told you that." And we were like, "Yeah, definitely
Oops.
not."
Forgot to tell you it's going to be an eminent domain.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so, I think that was a big, huge one, because if we had not like reached out to the county and reached out to their planning and their zoning department, if we would have just said, because it was a sweet deal. I mean, the price was right. The market was insane.
Everything was green, like go, 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 go.
I was like, and it was city water and city sewer. I think either direct build or build back, but it wasn't septic and it wasn't well, which is a headache all in itself. But, it was just sweet apart from that. And we were like, I can't. It was horrible. It was sad to back out of it, but it saved us probably such a huge headache down the road that, if we would have gotten lending on this property and then they turned around and gave us like half of it, because I asked the explicit question, if we owe, I mean, I went all the way up to the Department of Transportation, whoever it was that was going to do it, that was giving the money funding and stuff. And I said, let's say I have a loan on this property. Are you going to make sure you at least pay it off? And they were like, no, that's not our deal. And I said, well, what about our residents? Because most of them, I'd read something in all of the right-of-way stuff that if they were undocumented, that they would not give them any money for their home. They wouldn't give them any money to relocate. And I'm like, I can't do that to my residents. Like, they couldn't say how they were going to help us in any aspect like that, if they would even cover the loan. And what if we would have just been like, okay, let me close an eye to that real quick and move forward. Like, we could be sitting with no park, all of our residents displaced, and still paying on the loan with no property. It would have been.
I remember
massive.
multiple calls talking through that deal at length and talking about all the risks and all the benefits of that deal, because it did have a lot of benefits.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a really good opportunity, but ultimately the risk outweighed the reward on it. And you were going into that deal eyes wide open, which I think is the big learn. If you don't know where to look and what to look for, and you're not very strict on following that process, you can lose a lot of money and get in a lot of trouble if you didn't do what you needed to do to really research that property in its entirety. So I think that was a great learning experience. And I think it was an eye opener to all of the coaching clients, because, I can rant and rave every week about different things. And I think it's easy for people to go, yeah, when I, that's probably not likely going to happen on my deal. That sounds really rare, but you'd be surprised how many properties actually have zoning issues or code issues or, density issues. And if you don't know all those different facets, and even if you know it, but if you don't follow through on that stuff, you can end up paying a pretty hefty price. So I was really proud of you guys for, doing your homework as thoroughly as you have, but also you had the guts to back out. Because it would have been one of those deals that I'd have been looking at crazy too. Like, I don't know, the numbers just look so awesome and it's such a good property, but you were disciplined enough to not make an emotional decision, make a good business decision on that.
Yes.
So, and the funny thing is, it was almost a split group in many of those calls where people were like, don't do it. But then I'd be like, yeah, but the return, just to play both sides of the table, because I wanted everybody to see that it's not always, business decisions are not always just cut and dry. Sometimes you actually have to weigh out your risk, and you made the right decision. So, but that's a really good example.
I'm not going to say that I don't frequently check and see if they are still the current owners of the property, because I do.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is you should keep an eye on that deal, because if they end up pausing, or I should say stopping that project, you would be the first one to you'd want to be the first one to talk to that seller and jump right back in at the same terms and take that thing down. But you have a
Yes.
pulse on it, right? And
Yeah.
it's the most important thing. Some of the best deals get done on the second contract, not the first.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are working another deal right now where I don't know if it's still on the table or not, but it was a deal you guys went under contract on, and we won't mention locations or size or anything like that because it's a live deal for you. But you guys went under contract. You found some technical things again that
Mhm.
made it a risky deal for you. You had the guts to walk away, but you kept in touch with the owner, and
Yes.
now you're going back under contract or are back under contract on that deal, right? At a better price and terms.
Yeah, so we should have that contract. We actually just spoke this morning, and we are because of the technicalities in it, we are doing kind of like an escrow deal and putting some funds in escrow because we're not gonna close at the full asking price until we know everything's been done. And so they actually just sent the escrow agreement for us to review this morning. So we reviewed that, and hopefully we will have that hopefully signed under contract this week. But it will be the second contract, and it went all the way. I mean, we were pretty far into that. We hadn't like ended due diligence yet when we had to, but we were right there, and they didn't want us to back out, and we didn't want to back out. But we just couldn't do it at that. But funny enough, we got that person's information. We got that seller's information from cold calling, and it was another park owner that said, well, I don't want to sell, but I know that this person might want to sell. And so we actually went down to their office and was like, hey, someone told us to come here because you might have a park that you want to sell. And so
that's the grit that I'm talking about. You guys have grit.
So we did that. And like I said, hopefully we have a nice plan. It's a whole lot less risky. I would say at this point, we've reduced about 75% of the risk of this property. And like you said, we won't talk much about it because we haven't signed the paperwork yet. But I'm hoping that we will get in there fairly quickly and get that signed. Hopefully this week. There's a lot of moving players in it. So
yeah.
Yeah.
In our group, we call that structuring away the risk, right?
Yes.
When you're talking about using escrow accounts and doing some things to protect yourself so that you can still cross the finish line, but you're doing things to protect yourself through the structure of the deal. And sometimes that takes some creativity. Sometimes that takes thinking outside the box, but there's a lot of things that people will just walk away from because they don't understand that they can structure away their risk with that seller. And that's what you're doing. So
Yes.
You may get a deal that a lot of people might look at and go, I don't know, I'm going to pass on that. But because you know how to get over it.
Yeah, because we have our weekly calls where you help talk us. I'll never.
We have some very technical conversations some days.
Yeah,
yes.
I'll never. I'll never get off that soapbox because you've been absolutely amazing for us in this journey, and I know it's just starting right for us, and that's super exciting. But I speak with Khalid all the time when we sell a home to someone, right? And they may be sitting there in tears. Like we sold a house a few weeks ago, just being wholesalers, right? And he had tears in his eyes, and he was like, look, I was about to have to leave the country because I had nowhere else to go. And he was like, thank you so much, and that's so heartwarming, that we're able to help them get to their goals too. But in turn, the information and the guidance and stuff that people like you give us, that you give us week in and week out without fail, has helped turn even our lives around. I'm able to leave my job, and be here with my baby. She's 4, right? Like, I don't want to answer to corporate for the rest of my life, trying to figure out when my baby's sick, can I can I leave work? Boss, please, can I leave work? My baby's sick. You know, like I don't want that for myself. Some people love it. And I loved it, right? I loved my job. I still do, you know, what I did, love it. But, you know, you're helping to turn families around to make, you know, to make our lives great and greater. And, you know, we really appreciate you.
Well, thank you for the feedback. I love working with you guys every day. And like I was saying, like, I'm excited. I'm like a proud dad right now. Like, pat on the back. You guys just keep crushing it. And I know you will. And I'm looking forward to talking about your next deals that you guys close. Just keep it up. I have so much fun with this. Like, I always joke about it on the weekly calls. Like, this is my fun business, right? Like, throughout the day, you get all this craziness that happens, but then I get on with all you guys. And that to me is fun. Like, I get to talk shop. I get to help you guys go and do things, and I learn things from you too. Like, there's people always bring things to the table, and I learn from the group too. So it's just an awesome group of people like Freddie and Khalid that are just driven to succeed, and they put their grit behind the information and they get the results. So
we have a good group.
Yeah, thanks for all the feedback, and thanks for filling everybody in on your success with this, and looking forward to seeing you do more.
Yeah.
Thank you.